Welcome back, students, to Accounting 2401 Principles of Financial Accounting. This is Dr. Mercado speaking, and we are continuing covering Chapter 7, which deals with internal control and cash. Now, in this particular lecture, I'm going to be covering Problem 7-3A. Now, this is a very important problem because you are going to see something very similar to this on your upcoming exam, okay, which is the completion of a bank reconciliation. So you're going to be provided data and you're going to have to be able, utilizing the data provided, to complete a bank reconciliation, okay? Very important to please read the chapter before you attempt any of your problems. There's a lot of very important resources such as the different steps on how to prepare a bank reconciliation. So your book does a wonderful job in explaining step by step what needs to happen, both in the bank section as well as the company section. Okay, so there's several steps that we need to follow. Okay, so let's quickly go over these steps, just like an overview, and then we'll get to the problem. Okay, so on the bank section, that's the top section. We always start off with the bank section. We're going to enter the cash balance according to our bank statement. Okay, that's going to be your starting point. Then you're going to add any deposits not recorded by the bank. These are the deposits in transit. These are the deposits that you made late in the day that they haven't posted into the bank's books yet. They're not going to post until the next available business day. So you need to identify any deposits not recorded by the bank, and you're going to identify this by comparing the bank with the book record, okay? And then step number 3, you're going to deduct any outstanding checks that have not been paid by the bank. These are the checks that we wrote at the company level. We mailed them out, but for whatever reason, they haven't cleared the bank yet. Okay, so you have to identify any outstanding checks by comparing the paid checks with the outstanding checks appearing on the preceding period's reconciliation and with the recorded checks. So sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Okay, maybe you issue out the checks 2-3 days before the end of the closing of the month. Okay, every time that you issue out a check, you have to notate that or make a record of that in the company's books. Okay, you mail those checks out. It's going to probably take about 7 to 10 days for the company that you mail them to receive them and to process them. Okay, so you're going to have outstanding checks, and yes, companies still use checks. Okay, a lot of transactions are being done electronic now, but there are some companies that still process a lot of check transactions. Okay, so if your company, the company that you work for, processes checks, this is going to be a task where you have to figure out, okay, these are the checks that have been issued, these are the checks that have cleared, so which ones have not cleared, because I need to carry those on to the next month on my bank section of my reconciliation. Okay, so once you get your balance, you add your deposits in transit, you deduct your outstanding checks, you determine the adjusted balance for your bank section. Okay, then you move on to the company section of the reconciliation. You start off with the cash balance according to the company's records. Okay, you add any credit memos that have not been recorded. So you're going to identify bank credit memos that have not been recorded by comparing the bank statement to the books. Okay, examples include notes receivable and interest that the bank has collected on our behalf. Okay, so if someone owes us money and you know they're paying us like maybe every 15th of the month, the bank is responsible for the collection of it. Now we need to know that we need to record the entry once the money has been collected on the company's records. Okay, we're going to deduct any debit memos that have not been recorded. This could include NSF checks and bank service charges. Okay, and then we are going to determine the adjusted balance by adding step 6 and 7. So we're going to get the adjusted balance for the company section of the reconciliation. And then we need to verify that the bank section balance, adjusted balance, ties to the company section adjusted balance. Okay, so verify that the adjusted balances determined in steps 4 and 8 are equal. Okay, so this is the process as outlined in your book. So make sure you're always comparing your book with your bank and figuring out what has not posted in both of them. Okay, if something's pending, then we need to carry those items in the respective sections. Now, very important, if an error is made, let's say for example we issue a check for $500 and when we record that transaction in the company's books, we recorded it for $50 instead of $500. Okay, we, the accountants, made a mistake at the company level. We recorded it for the wrong amount. Okay, any errors identified or any outstanding items on the company's reconciliation, in the company's section of the reconciliation, we need to process adjusting entries. So for any outstanding items on the company section of the reconciliation, we are going to have to make adjusting entries. Okay, now if there is an error on the bank section, unfortunately we, the company, do not have access to the bank's records. So if an error is identified, maybe the check cleared, you issued out a check for $250, and then when it cleared the bank, it cleared for $280. Okay, it's for the wrong amount. You look at the copy of the check and it's for $250. You need to then contact the bank and say, hey, I have a copy of the check here written for $250, yet your cashier cashed it for $280. Make the correction. Okay, if it's something that is being carried on the bank reconciliation section, you cannot make correcting entries. If a correcting entry is needed, you need to contact the bank and they will process the necessary adjustments. The only thing that we control and that we have access to adjusting are anything that is happening on the company section of the reconciliation. Okay, so you are going to see something similar to this in your upcoming test, so pay very close attention. Okay, so this is going to be a bank reconciliation and the corresponding entries. Problem 7-3A. So it says, the cash account for Paula Medical Company at June 30th, 20Y1 indicated a balance of $166,436. The bank statement indicated a balance of $195,688 on June the 30th. Comparing the bank statement and the accompanied canceled checks and memos with the records revealed the following reconciling items. And then we have A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, and we'll go over those in a bit. We are being tasked to prepare a bank reconciliation, and then we're going to be journalizing the necessary entries and figuring out what should we report as our ending cash balance. Okay, so let's start off with the first requirement, which is to prepare our reconciliation. The name of the business is Paula Medical Company. This is the bank reconciliation, and this is as of June the 30th, 20Y1. Okay, we always begin with the cash balance according to the bank statement. Okay, according to the bank statement indicated a balance of $195,688. Okay, that is our bank balance. Okay, $195,688. Okay. Then the other piece of information I have is my cash balance. Okay, cash balance according to company's records. So according to my company records, okay, it indicated we had a balance of $166,436. Okay, so that is my company's balance. That is my starting point, $166,436. So those are my two beginning balances for my bank and for my company. Okay, now those are the two balances provided. Now we're going to go through items A through E. Okay, so it says here, checks outstanding totaled $19,427. Okay, checks outstanding. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that we issued checks and they have not cleared the bank. So those checks are already recorded on the company's records, but they have not been adjusted for at the bank because the checks haven't cleared. So once the checks clear, are we going to add or deduct? Okay, we need to have a section for add. Okay. And then we need to have a section for deduct. Okay. Same thing over here. We're going to have a section for add. And then we're going to have a section for deduct. Okay. So, checks outstanding. Anytime you see the word checks outstanding, let's go back over here. Okay. Deduct outstanding checks. So if we deduct outstanding checks, that is in step number 3. That is going to be under the bank reconciliation section, and we are going to be deducting. Okay, so we're going to deduct over here. We're going to deduct outstanding checks. Okay, and we have outstanding checks totaling to $19,427. Okay. And we know it's a deduct because we need to subtract. Deduct means we're going to subtract that. So maybe we want to enter this in a negative. That way we can see it, that number needs to be deducted. Okay. Outstanding checks, we're going to deduct. Okay. That way we can see it clear. Now we are going to, that's the first one. So we've taken care of A. A deposit of $12,300 representing receipts of June the 30th had been made too late to appear on the bank statement. Okay, so this is a deposit that was made late, $12,300. Okay, so if we look at the bank reconciliation section, step number 2 says add deposits not recorded by bank. So that needs to be an addition. Okay, so we're gonna add. Okay. Deposit in transit, June 30th. Okay. So we have a deposit in transit of $12,300. Now on the first column, if you have multiple items that need to be added, you would put them in the first one. If it's just one item, you carry it to the second item or the second column. Okay. For deductions, we're only going to have one deduction. Okay. But for the additions, we have multiple additions affecting our bank section. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add them down here. Okay. So we know we've already done A. Okay. We have also done B. That has been done. Okay. Now let's look at C. The bank collected $26,500. $25,000 for the note, and $1,500 for interest. Okay, so the bank has collected the money. So if the bank has collected it, that means that they have recorded it on the bank's end. Okay, but we didn't know about it. So now we at the company's records or at the company's level need to record that money collected. So if we collected money, do we have more or less money? Okay, if we collected money, that means that we are needing to add. Okay, so we're gonna add note collected. I misspelled collected. Note collected by bank. Okay, including $1,500 in interest. Okay, so we collected how much did we collect? $25,000 plus $1,500. We collected $26,500. Okay. So those $26,500 were already reflected on the bank section, but we, the company, had not recorded it. So that's why we're collecting the deposit on our end. Okay. So you need to figure out, okay, where does this adjustment go? Does it go in the bank section or in the company section? So if the bank collected money on your behalf, then the deposit has already been made at the bank level, but we have not made the deposit at the company's record. So we need to add that deposit in our books for $26,500. Okay. Now let's look at letter D. A check for $4,000 returned with the statement had been incorrectly recorded by Paula Medical as $400. The check was for the payment of an obligation to Skyline Supply Company for a purchase on account. So, a check for $4,000 returned with the statement had been incorrectly by Paula Medical for $4,000. The check was for the payment of an obligation. So we recorded it for 400 when we should have recorded it for 4,000. Okay? So we are paying an obligation to Skyline Supply Company. We owed Skyline 4 grand. Okay, we cut the check for 4 grand. It's just that when we recorded our entry in our books, we only did it for 400. It was like a typo. We were missing one zero. Okay, so if the check should have been for 4,000, but we did it for 400, that means that we need an adjustment of $3,600. Are we going to add $3,600 or are we going to deduct $3,600? Well, we should be deducting because we are making a payment to Skyline Supply Company. So when we pay someone, our cash goes down. So we would need to deduct, okay? Error in recording check. Okay? So we would need to deduct $3,600. That way that 3,600 plus that 400 would bring me up to the 4,000, which was the check, the correct check amount should be. Okay, so we're gonna deduct those $3,600. That takes care of letter D. Okay, letter E. A check drawn for $195 had been erroneously charged by the bank for $915. Okay, banks do make mistakes, so it's very important that we reconcile. Okay, so the check was for $195. The bank erroneously charged it $915. Okay, so here we have an error. Okay, so the check was for $195. The bank charged $915. So that means an adjustment is pending. Okay, now are we going to add or subtract? Okay, that's the $1,000,000 question here. Well, the check should have cleared for $195. It cleared instead for $915. So that means that the bank took away too much money. Okay, let's see how much exactly. Okay, so $915 minus $195. So the bank took away $720 too much from my bank account. So that means that I need to put money back into my account of $720. Okay, so I need to add $700 to my bank reconciliation section because I recorded that entry incorrect. Okay, so I need to add that bank error. Okay, and charging check as $915 instead of $195. Okay, so I'm going to add $720, the difference between the $915 and the $195. So what happened here? The check was written for $195. It cleared the bank for $915. So now I need to put $720 back into the bank because that way I can update the correct amount of the check. Okay. Okay, so let's mark that one. Okay. Letter F. Bank service charge for June is $55. So the bank is charging you $55 to have the account. Now, whenever the banks charge service charges, do they call and ask you for your permission? No, not my bank. All they do is they take the money out of my bank account. So the bank has already taken out $55 from your bank account, but you didn't know about it because you don't monitor your account every day. But now that you're looking at the bank statement, you see there a bank service charge of $55. We haven't recorded it at the company's record, so we need to record it. So if it's a bank service charge, that means that we need to pay a fee to the bank. That means our cash is going to decrease. So that means that we need to deduct this transaction, service charges, from our total. Okay, and the amount $55. Okay, so those are all of the transactions that are provided to us in the problem. Okay, now we can reconcile the account. Okay, so here we have two deposits that are pending. So now because we have two items, we're gonna have our total additions. Okay, So let's add those together and let's see what we get. Okay. So we have total additions pending of 13,020. I have an outstanding check of 19,000 or various outstanding checks totaling to 19,427. Okay, let me delete this. That way we don't have too much dead space. Okay. And that just moved over here, but that does not really matter. Okay, this is just to keep track of the items that we've used up. Okay. Okay, so now we have our outstanding checks. Okay, now we can figure out our adjusted balance. Okay, so my adjusted balance is going to be your beginning balance of 195,688. You're going to add your total additions of 13,020. That's going to give you 208,708. And I'm going to deduct my outstanding checks of 19,427. So my adjusted balance will be 189,281. Okay. Okay, now we're going to look at the company's records. We started off with 166,436. We added a note collected by the bank, including 1,500 in interest of 26,500. And then we have two deductions. So let's go ahead and let's get our total deductions. So we're going to add the two deductions that we have. And because it's a deduction, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract. Okay. Let me format it that way they're consistent. There we go. So we have total deductions of 3,000. It should be 3,655. Okay. 3,600 plus 55 is 3,655. That is my total deductions of 3,655. Now I can get my adjusted balance for my company's records. So how are we going to do that? We're going to get our beginning balance of 166,436. I'm going to add my 26,500. That was the note that was collected. And then I'm going to subtract the 3,655. Sorry about that. So we have 166,436 plus 26,500. That gives me 192,936 minus 3,655. That will give me 189,281. Just as over here. Okay. So if we see, we have identified the items that fall into the bank section. On the bank section, we have our outstanding deposits and our outstanding checks. Our deposits in transit and our outstanding checks. And then there was an error that was made at the bank level. We need to make sure that the bank corrects this item. We issued a check for 195. The bank cleared it for 915. That's a bank error. The bank needs to fix that. Okay, so those are the three items pending on the bank section. On the company's records, the bank collected on our behalf $26,500 from a note. We need to add that because we had not recorded it. There was an error in recording a check for $3,600. And then we have the service charges for $55. And that's going to bring my balance. Remember, your bank statement adjusted balance must always equal your company's records adjusted balance. If they don't, then there is an issue. Okay, the whole point of reconciling is to make sure that those two numbers match. Okay, once we figure this out, this is our reconciliation. It is complete. Now we need to do some journal entries. And like I stated previously, we make a journal entries for all of the transactions that we have under the company's records. So I need an entry for this item and these two items down here. Okay. So we're going to need those three journal entries recorded. Okay. Anything under the company's records, any items pending, we need to make an adjusting entry, okay? And all of this is happening as of the end of June, June the 30th. So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and we're going to record is that note that was collected. Letter C, it was $26,500, $25,000 principal, $1,500 interest. So what did we receive? We received cash of $26,500, okay? Now, the principal is going to go towards our notes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to credit our notes receivable, okay? Notes receivable is for the amount of the principal payment. Okay, the principal was $25,000. We are paying $25,000 down on the note. Okay, and then we have interest revenue. We generated interest. So we have interest revenue of $1,500. Okay. So this is my entry. We received cash of $26,500. I'm going to deduct, or I'm going to decrease my note receivable balance by $25,000. And I charge interest of $1,500. So I'm going to take that to my interest revenue account. Okay. So that takes care of that entry right there. Okay. Now let's look at that $3,600 entry. Okay. Error in recording a check. Let's look at transaction D. A check of $4,000 was incorrectly recorded by Paula as $400. The check was for the payment of an obligation to Skyline Supply Company for a purchase on account. So we were making a payment to Skyline, okay? But we made it for $400 instead of $4,000, okay? So what's going to happen, okay? What's going to happen is my accounts payable, we need to make an entry to adjust our accounts payable. We're going to go ahead and debit it for Skyline Supply Company because it says there that we're making a payment for them, okay, for the amount of $3,600, okay? And how do we make a payment? We credit cash, okay? Cash will be credited $3,600. That takes care of that entry. Accounts payable gets debited because it says here that this was for a payment of an obligation to Skyline. So we recorded it for $400 instead of $4,000. So now we need to make an entry for the difference of $3,600. Last but not least, we've got service charges, $55, okay? $55, okay? Usually service charge are being assessed to miscellaneous expense, okay? So miscellaneous expense gets debited for $55. And how do you pay for your miscellaneous or for any expense? You pay with cash, $55, okay? So we have an entry for each of the outstanding items on the company's records. Remember, anything that you have outstanding, you need to record an entry for, okay? So we've already recorded an entry for those 3 items, okay? Then it says here, if a balance sheet was prepared for Paula Medical as of June the 30th, what amount should be reported as cash, okay? So if we were to prepare a balance sheet, the amount that would be reported would be the $189,281. The adjusted balance from the bank reconciliation should be reported as the cash balance per Paula Medical Company. So the cash amount reported should be that adjusted balance of $189,281. That is what you actually have available to spend, okay? In case you need to make any business decisions. It is not your bank statement balance. It is not your book balance. It is your adjusted balance after all items have been reconciled. That will be the $189,281. Okay? So reconciling is not very challenging. It's just a matter of understanding the steps and knowing what goes where. What goes under the bank section, what goes under the company section. Okay, so make sure that you review the steps carefully when you are preparing your reconciliation, okay? And make sure that you always balance. Your adjusted balance must always equal, your adjusted balance on the bank statement must always equal your adjusted balance on the company's records, okay? So that is basically it for this problem. This problem, like I stated earlier, will be on your exam, something similar to this. Please practice. You have 2 tries on your homework. If you don't do well, use that second attempt to try to get more practice, get faster at it, and try to understand the content better. Review the demonstration problems on Cengage. They have Show Me How videos. Please look at those videos to help you out. Read the chapter, go over the PowerPoint, utilize all of the resources available so you can master this. If you have questions or concerns, please refer to my course syllabus for my office hours, and you can stop by or call or send me a message, and I will try to respond as soon as possible. Okay, so that is basically it for this problem. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your week.